Minister Creecy, can you give me some insight into the discussions you're having from a South Africa perspective here at COP27?
Well, I think the South African delegation came to COP27 with a clear mandate on the mitigation front to make sure that we keep ambition to ensure that the world average global temperature increase does not exceed 1.5 degrees. Science tells us that this represents the tipping point after which several cataclysmic climate-related events will occur. Of course, as a country, we are already experiencing the effects of climate change, and so we are very interested on the global work program relating to adaptation and the definition of clear adaptation goals. As a country, we have put forward the idea that by 2030, at least half of the world's vulnerable populations should be more climate resilient, and 90% of the world's vulnerable populations should be climate resilient by 2050. Of course, the work around adaptation and mitigation raises the thorny issue of climate finance, and as we know, the developed countries have not honored their own commitment to pledge $100 billion per annum by 2020, and negotiations are still going on for the post-2025.
Are you hopeful that we're going to get the $100 billion from the developed world over the line for the developing world?
Look, developed countries would say that they have achieved 80 to 90% of this target. I suppose the problem for developing countries is that a lot of this finance, especially for middle-income countries such as our own, is in the form of loans. And obviously what we understand is that many middle-income countries are already heavily indebted. And given the fact that countries on the African continent have contributed only 4% to the buildup of global emissions that is creating the current climate crisis, we don't think it's appropriate that we should be further indebted in order to solve climate problems.
It's going to be a difficult one to resolve, with every country with their own agendas and objectives, especially in the current economic landscape. President Cyril Ramaphosa was on the ground to unveil the Just Energy Transition Plan. How has that been received?
There's a lot of interest in our investment plan, and obviously once again in that interaction, President Ramaphosa was expressing his concerns that the grant component is too low. The partners had agreed they would look into that further. And we are hoping that now that our messaging and our direction is clear, that other countries will also be interested in contributing to our investment plan.
What are you expecting to go home with?
Well, I think this COP is really, I can say it's a process-orientated COP. So it's before the global stocktake that will take place next year. It's before the finalization of issues around loss and damage. So I think that what we're hoping is that there's progress in the work plans, progress in the negotiations, and of course we want to ensure that there's no backpedaling by developed countries on their ambitious mitigation targets that they tabled at COP26. These are the countries that have created the climate crisis, and there's no room for them to be backpedaling at this stage.
Minister Creecy, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.